Hello everybody. For those of you that don't know, I am Alexia from amysticspath. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching Morning Messages with T. Now I know it's not morning anymore, but I've had like a really busy day and I'm really, I don't want to say rigid, but set on doing things on Wednesdays for Morning Messages with T. So I really wanted to just come on even though it was afternoon, and bring you guys the messages and talk about what it is that I wanted to talk about today. Now, today has been a little hectic and a little crazy. I don't know if it has been like that for anybody else, but it seems like there's been a lot of obstacles today. Not like major tough ones, but ones that I've just had to sit with and deal with and kind of go with the flow, which is a challenge for me. Let me tell you, I'm a Sagittarius and I like to go, and I like things to be my way. Trust me. So that's definitely an adjustment that I'm working on. Now, since today's been so crazy, I kind of just want to clear out any harsh vibrations in my atmosphere, in your atmosphere, for all of those that are tuning in and watching this, to kind of raise the vibration and bring in some more upbeat, positive, happy vibrations into our realities. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about a message that was for me, that like I was writing this message and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to share this one. And I don't always share messages that are personal to me. I a lot of times like to share the messages, unless they're for me and others, mainly the messages that come through for the collective that everyone can benefit from. But this message, I felt like everybody needed to hear and listen to, especially from my people that have anxiety or have been mentally or emotionally abused and traumatized and taken advantage of, because that affects our mental state, how it is that we think about ourselves and how it is that we see the world. Now, for people that have been like verbally abused and taken advantage of, that may have even some form of PTSD from that, like I do, this whole concept and this whole thing is very, very difficult. And that is the message that came through of being very careful and using the discernment on the type of thoughts that come through, because when you choose a frequency that you believe in, that you are participating in, whether it is of your wanting or because it's your fault or not, it doesn't matter. That you basically, when you are in these loops, that you are choosing to create with that frequency. And this is very prominent and important. And I feel like, especially for my people out there that feel like they're cursed, like bad things keep happening. You know, they say be careful what you think because you are attracting what it is that you think. So like if you feel like something bad is going to happen, and you're afraid that something bad is going to happen, and it's just, you know, an anxious fear or a fear from past stress. Say, like, for example, I had a lot of verbal abuse as a child, and a lot of things were blamed on me that were out of my control. So I grew up thinking that everything that was bad that happened was my fault, and that I caused these things, which is absurd and not true. But this was something that was embedded into my brain for my whole entire childhood until I moved out on my own. And so sometimes it's hard because you can't really help without cognitively trying through therapy or me individually as a person. It's a little bit more challenging, but I tend to psychoanalyze myself and watch my behaviors and things like this, so new things become unlocked and I can work on them. But when you have issues with anxiety or PTSD, which can mimic anxiety but is essentially, in my opinion, worse. But because I guess I was misdiagnosed, but that as a child with anxiety, and that was actually chronic events that led to PTSD. But that's neither here nor there. I just felt like I wanted to share candidly my experience, so other people can receive it better. I don't really like to be that open about specific things, but per my path and per my calling, I'm called to do so. Even getting into the astrology aspects of it, I have my Chiron and Leo in my 11th house. But anyways, when you are even stuck in a loop, and then you have these fears through past experiences, right? And you're just afraid that something bad is going to happen, or afraid that this isn't going to go right because things don't go right for you, blah, 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 blah. That key thought, things aren't going to go right for me because of this, puts a block in your way. It puts a blockage in your way that the universe sees. And that you're choosing to co-create with this. So then things aren't going to necessarily go through, essentially because you didn't have the faith that they were going to go through. You actually had the faith that they weren't going to go through. And it's like, I don't know if faith's the right word, but it's like, you know, the opposite spectrum. And when you're choosing to sit within these thought patterns, like, oh, my luck is bad. When you sit in these thought patterns, like everything is my fault, and that things are going to go wrong because I'm a disaster, then these things are going to start to perpetuate. And not only do they start to perpetuate, but we start to project them. So we may even see these things as being there, and they're not truly there. It's our inner world that's projecting them, that makes it seem as though, or turns it into so, because we're projecting like, oh, nobody wants to be around me because of this, and then you're projecting this, and then nobody wants to be around you. So literally the inner dynamic of our brains and our mental state, you guys, factors so much in on what it is that we manifest and the quality of what it is that we're going to manifest. If you feel as though you're never going to amount to anything, and you have that construct in your brain, then that's what's going to happen. You're not going to amount to anything because you don't believe that you will. And that is going to put a barrier, and not in the level of work that you're doing, although it may make you not even want to try, but it puts a barrier energy on the level that other people even receive it, even if it's amazing, even if it's fantastic. Even if there's nothing out there like that in the world and the universe has been waiting for something of the caliber of what it is that you've created, the fact and belief that you don't feel like it's going to pick up or that you don't feel like it's going to take off is blocking that from picking up and taking off. Now, I wanted to read you guys from my own personal journal and my own personal, where I put all of my, information, how it is that I'm feeling, the breakthroughs that I've had, or if I'm just, whatever, as well as my card pulls for myself. And this message was from the 12th. And it says, the energy of listening to thoughts that come through and using discernment on what gets chopped by the sword, which is basically, I was seeing like a sword basically just chopping through, almost like I don't know if you guys remember the game Fruit Ninja that came out years ago, that you would like slice the fruit with the sword or whatever, and you had to get like all the fruit on the screen. That's kind of what I seen, was like basically slicing through the bad fruit, right? As there is reformation happening within the subconscious, continue to balance your body and mind and activity. Choose what is of the best energy field for you to live in. Your thoughts perpetuate your reality once you sync with their vibration and choose them. But be sure to not run from your emotions and actual feelings that arise, because you cannot be at balance if you are suppressing. So it was basically, the message from my team was telling me to really, really be careful and even kick out some of the thoughts, to not choose them, to not accept them. And that was a big piece of it, because we're like, we have these thoughts. How do we get them to like leave us alone? Or how do we get to the point to not choose them? And you have to consciously, like what I've been doing so far is I've had to consciously go about having a thought, right? Might even be an anxious thought. And then I'm literally taking it and saying, no, like I will deal with that situation when it gets here, if it happens, right? But other than that, I'm not worrying about it. I'm not going to feed into it. Or I go and say, that's not true. You're overreacting. And another thing is when you're changing the way that your brain works and you're rewiring the way that your brain works, any change will make you feel unbalanced and like things are wrong. So then your brain starts to freak out and it does all of this weird stuff, and you might have an increase of your mental construct that you're trying to get rid of. So it might, because it's fighting back to stay. It's fighting back to stay because it doesn't want to go. In our brains, anytime there is change, there is this freak out moment because things are changing. And what if it gets worse, or this and that? And then, so there can even be a dark period of where you're sitting there and you're like, it's almost like an awakening, because you're changing your perspective and you're actually rewiring your brain. So one part of this is really saying, no, I'm going to choose to sit in a positive vibration, and this is how it could possibly turn out, instead of sitting in a negative vibration and saying that this is how it could possibly turn out, and weighing heavier to the positive side than the negative side, because there was an imbalance that was leaning towards the negative side. Now, I'm not saying to be overly optimistic and not actually look at the facts that are in front of you. I'm saying that overactive freak out that happens from having PTSD and anxiety, that you're just not choosing that, and you're choosing to sit with the positive or sit within the neutral. Now, for a lot of people that have some of these issues, I would say to either, one, therapy is always a good option. I don't do well with other people, so as far as opening up and things like this, and I like to psychoanalyze myself, so I do a lot of like journaling, and I'm very, very self-aware and like to be very self-accountable. But as far as therapy, works really, really well to try to get into the space of being able to rationalize your thoughts and rationalize what is actually going on in your physical space, your physical area, when you're trying to rewire your thoughts. Now, another thing that has been helping me that I wanted to share with you guys as far as rewiring your thoughts and being in a more stable, healed, happy space is that I have literally recorded myself saying different mantras of things that I'm trying to change and shape into my mental state. And I put my headphones in, and when I meditate, I listen to this. And it's about 3 minutes long, and I listen to it about 2 to 3 times, because not only is it, I felt like it was necessary to be very consciously aware of what it was that I was feeding into within my own mental state, but to subconsciously rewire things, because things come up from the subconscious anyways, right? And that's why we don't always understand our anxiety or our PTSD or things like this. Now, that I feel like has been helping me, as well as, again, being consciously aware. But everybody is different, and that's why, especially if it's depending on your case or your scenario, I was always, like, me as a person, I was always personally left to deal with things on my own without others' help. But within matters of mental health, I think it's serious that you either, if you're not choosing to work with a life coach like me, or like a licensed therapist or whatever the case is, because for some people it can just be more difficult or scary, and you don't want to, like, taking mental health seriously. But I really felt the need to share this and share these messages with you guys, because I felt like it was so important. Because how are we out here trying to manifest what it is that we want to manifest on the degree that we want to manifest it, and have and live happy, purpose-filled lives, you know, without like serious breakdowns and trauma and all of these things, when our brain is wired to deal with things that are bad that is happening, and that's been our norm, that's been our reality. So it's not enough. Like, a lot of spiritual workers are going to say, well, you need to rewire your brain, or you need to not listen to those thoughts, or not do these, you know, like feed into that, but they're not telling you how not to do that. And for me, so far, it's been being very aware, reflecting on my card pulls, and really relying on what it is that Spirit's telling me instead of my own mental constructs, because they're a little far off sometimes on how it is that I was viewing things coming in and things like that. But also rewiring my brain on a subconscious level, I feel like with the recordings has been a very, very big help for me, because it's taking it from a level that I cannot consciously reach within the subconscious. And then that repetition, I had also read something that was saying that when you step into meditative states, it's easier to rewire the brain because of the level your brain waves are working. Because when you're like awake, it's supposed to be alpha, and then there's like beta and theta or whatever of your brain waves, and they change depending on the level of like how deep you are meditating, and it's supposed to help rewire your brain. And that's why I had chose to do things this way. And I kind of wanted to just pull some cards for my fellow people that are dealing with issues within really diving into the good or the positive aspects of manifesting, and what it is that you're trying to bring in. And I kind of just wanted to pull, like, is there any extra guidance that Spirit has for the collective on how to rewire your brain from a negative, traumatized construct to a more positive one? And I feel like for a lot of us, it's actually diving in and resonating and choosing the belief that good things can happen, that we're not bound to recite and recycle hard lessons that we have had to endure. Okay. Okay, so some of the cards that we have here, we have Keepers of the Earth, which is backed by Share Your Voice. We have the Page of Wands, that's backed by the Nine of Swords, the Chariot, and the Hermit, and these are shadow cards. And I don't know what this Mintaken, and this is a Longing for Home, Belonging, the original Lightworkers. And we have the card of Leap, the Sun card, the Three of Cups, the Six of Wands, and the Seven of Swords. So I want to start with the Six of Wands and the Seven of Swords, because a lot of times the Seven of Swords is talking about things that we are hiding within within our mental state. So this could be things that we don't like to display, we don't like to share, we don't like to put out there. We might be projecting that we are very optimistic, but being very pessimistic on the inside. So we're looking for the Six of Wands, and this is a card that's all about celebration and happiness, right, and victory. But when we're looking at the Six of Wands and compared with this Seven of Swords, this is speaking of a team that is behind you, that is helping you be victorious of what is going on deep within your mental state. Okay, so this can literally be a team that is helping you, support you within your mental health. Friends that are listening to you, that are really supportive, but you have to share your voice on what it is that you are going through and what it is that you are working through, kind of like what it is that I'm doing right now, that is trying to spread knowledge to help other people that are going through this, right? Or that are having issues, or that maybe not even started working on transitioning their mental health to a more positive place to be able to call in a better life. And maybe, hopefully, this video will be the seed to, oh my God, I can change this. Like, I can do this. If she's doing this, then I can do this, right? So anyways, that there is a team behind you to help you unpack and to help you deal with these things. Again, whether that is somebody that you're paying that's a therapist, somebody that you're paying that is a life coach like me, or some of the other spiritual workers that are out here, or just a very good team that is, helping you and that is very supportive. Now, of course, when it comes to mental health, I really recommend somebody that you, think highly of, and that has dedicated themselves to helping people, not just anybody, right? Now, when we look at the Sun card and the Three of Cups, we're looking for a transition. We're looking for this transition to happiness, to mental clarity, and to be able to celebrate that. And I almost want to pull another card within this. Okay, and within the shadow card for this is the Page of Wands. And in conjunction with the Leap card, I feel like that if you're waiting for a time to start working on your mental health and changing into a better aspect of mental health, that now is the time, especially with the Leap card, with the Page of Wands, and with the Chariot over here, that now is the time to start seeking this clarity and this almost enjoyment and lightheartedness. And when we have the Queen of Pentacles, she's just very, very within the physical moment and very just engulfed in everything that she is, but within a good way. Now we have a longing for home here, and within this, and in conjunction within the Leap card, is that you are returning to a space of yourself. And you are almost taking a chance on yourself when you are doing set work, that you are returning back to yourself. But when we're looking at returning back to yourself, and it's saying the original light workers, that this is your original light that you're returning to. So everything that has happened has to be unlearned. Everything that has happened has to be reconstructed. That's why we have the Hermit card here that is backed by the Five of Pentacles, because, honey, that this work is not for the weak. This work is not for the people that want to take the easy way out. It is not. This work is hard. This work can be scary. This work can be almost traumatizing in the way that you have to un-traumatize yourself. And that's hard. Like, and I don't even know if the words un-traumatize yourself is the right sequence of words to say, but to basically start to undo the damage that trauma has done and coming back to yourself. But you have to take that leap of faith and dive in, and really, if you're waiting, like I said before, if you're waiting for a sign, for a reason, for a good time to work on changing this, then now is the time. Take that leap, head towards the light, head towards the sun, and to bring this energy of celebration and happiness to your mental state and to be within the physical. And I feel like it's just really coming through really hard to be able to do this. You have to have a team that is supportive. You have to share your voice, and you have to share why it is that you might be scared, why it is that you might be anxious, and all of these things. And be able to have a team help you out of the fog. And that's why I feel like saying, like, therapy, therapist, life coach, one that you trust, one that is of good quality information. That is who you need to be working with. Because your peers, people that have not studied psychology, people who have not studied human dynamic. Now, I am a Aquarius moon. I've been studying people since I was born. What makes people tick? Why do they do the things that they do? I was always a loner sitting in the corner watching people because I didn't trust them. It made me very, very good and very rely on my clear sensing skills to be able to sense things about people and things like this. So if it's not somebody who has been studying human dynamic, that is a light worker that has ascended and has a crap ton of wisdom, like myself or some of these other light workers, then I would really say to go to somebody who has literally studied psychology, literally studied the constructs of the human brain, because like I said, not everybody knows why we do the things that we do, why we think the way that we do after trauma, why we think the way that we do when we have anxiety. Okay? And I want to just pull another oracle card because I feel like there is an additional insight that Spirit wants me to kind of give to you guys. All right, we have the Pilates card, which is double mission, changing and uplifting humanity, as well as it's backed again by share your voice. All right, so I feel like this is part of your mission on earth, is to not stay in a space of being broken or tired, confused, and lack, and self-hatred and self-doubt, whatever the case is, that in part of lifting up humanity is lifting up yourself. Because when you lift up yourself, you then consciously and subconsciously do things in a way that is uplifting to others, that helps others. You're moving from a place of peace and alignment, and not from frustration and loss and anger. So then you essentially start to treat others differently because you're treating yourself differently. But it starts with the self. It starts with you sharing your voice. It starts with that sharing your experiences. Okay. And then you are lifting yourself up. Each time you break that fear and go into opening up and sharing your voice and really speaking your truth, that starting on that healing process, you lift yourself up. Every time you go and this thought, this construct that's been so strong in your brain, and you don't accept it and you tell it to get the fuck on, and then you realize that you dismissed that thing, that construct, that way of thinking that one time, and you really laid with something that was positive and sat there, and then nothing bad happens, and then you're like, holy crap, maybe there's something to this. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not doomed to get handed complete shit by the universe. But it really lies within you. And that is why we have to watch the way that we talk to people, and the way that we talk to our kids, the way that we talk to our nieces, the way that we talk to our nephews, the way that we talk to our spouses, like the way that we talk to everybody. Because, and that's like that thing, that saying that is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because what you say can leave in 2 seconds of anger, 2 seconds of frustration, can really stick with somebody, that can really stay with somebody for life. And that is so true. It's so true. So we have to watch how we're not only talking to ourselves, and how it is that we're talking to others, because we don't want to be victims of abuse and then in turn become the abuser. And it's so easy to do because we don't fall in lines with how important or put the real value of our words and the spells that we create just by talking to somebody, just by saying something. Like when you say something in anger, it's so difficult, because not only can that be hurtful for somebody, it has the energy and the ability to manifest because of the weight of that emotion that you put on that vibration when you spoke those words. What vibration you were calling out to and calling within you. And we have to remember, everything we project out there essentially comes back to us in karma, whether that's good or bad. So being mindful of how it is that we treat ourselves and how we treat others is so important. Now, I got pretty personal with you guys today, and which I was kind of nervous about, because I'm a very private person. But I hope that this video reaches people that it needs to reach, and that people that had no idea that they could choose and rewire their brain see this and see hope, and see that improvement is possible. To see that there is actual change that can happen for those of us who struggle with PTSD, with anxiety, and with issues that keep us in a place that is more pessimistic than optimistic, especially when it is not our fault, because it's not in any way, shape, or form. So, I'm setting the intention that this live, this IGTV reaches everyone that is struggling with unhelpful mental constructs, that is struggling with PTSD, that is struggling with anxiety, that is struggling to be in a positive frame of mind from whomever, whatever the case is, that this video finds you, that you find it, and that your healing journey can begin in whatever way that looks like for you, no matter whom you choose to work with. Now, if anybody would like to work with me or anything like that, the information on how to work with me is always in the description box below. So I hope that this video really greatly helps, and that everybody has a great day.